last week. Is there something he has to do better? And has Patchen seemingly surpassed Djax in terms of snaps because of practice performance?
John's still learning and becoming more assignment sound. And obviously we have a lot of guys ahead of him playing at a super high level. So to get in right now, the bar is a little bit been raised. So, John's close. Has really made some big improvements from a year ago, but even from spring ball, So he's just a young guy that we're just bringing on our program. But I was watching him today go through drill, and I said, this guy he's got quite a future because he's everything you'd want from an interior defensive guy. Scott has probably nudged in front of Djax at defensive end, and same thing there. It's just hard. It's hard to take Joe and Garvin off the field. Now the thing is, every week we have to assess what type of game it is, tempo of play, temperature of the game. Is it a drop back team that's going to drop back and throw the ball 50 times, or is really going to gas your guys out? We go to Virginia. Again, we're not playing as many snaps defensively as we did a year ago. So you're only talking about playing 50, 60 snaps of defense. Because there's a point where any defensive player starts to lose their effectiveness. So the temperature, the amount they're playing, how many times they're having to pass rush and things like that, a lot of times that's going to determine how often we use our bench. So it's not always necessarily an indictment on how well or not well the guy is doing.
What kind of strides do you think you've made since last game? This week?
Well, we spent some time in the bye week looking ahead at some of our future opponents, practicing against some of that stuff, so that we'll be more ready when that week comes. And then we sort of put that away, and came back and really got focused on Boston College. The thing I'll say about our guys is we've got great leadership. We have great chemistry on defense. Our guys love playing with and for one another. So their spirit's been great all week in practice and in meetings, and they're very eager to get out and play. Sometimes bye weeks come in good times and bad times. I think we'd have rather got out and played last weekend, truth be told. But that being said, physically, mentally we probably needed it, but physically it was probably good to get away for a little bit and rest our bodies and get ready for this November.
Is this the biggest, most physical offensive line you guys are going to face?
I would not say they are the biggest, most physical, but I'd say they're in that league. I mean, we've certainly played against some other large and physical downhill running offensive lines. I think just from the demeanor of this football team and what they want to do and how they want to pound that ball and the personnel they have to pound it and the sets they get into with the personnel groups on the field that they get into, I think that'll be unusual compared to what we've played against.
You mentioned that personnel, A.J. Dillon. What can you say about just the challenge that he presents?
Well, there's three things that make you hard to tackle, right? One is being big, one's being fast, and one's being quick, okay? A good player should theoretically have one of those three attributes. If you have more than one of those attributes, then you're a problem. And obviously his size, you just look at him and tell it's like tackling a middle linebacker. But then he's got the speed to go all the way. He's got very good feet to make guys miss in the hole. So I think, that's why all the draft people rate him so highly, and he's been a problem when he's been in there.
You showed him the run that he had last year against Louisville. He goes 75 shakes a guy.
We did. We actually showed him all of his long runs from a year ago, just to get a sense, because again, he's not. He's a couple of the games we've scouted against him. He's not in those breakdowns. So just to get an idea of who we're going against, and our guys are super excited to go against him. That's what you want to do. You want to come to Miami and play against great players.
Now that you have a 7-game sample size, how pleased are you about what you created with the striker, the way Romeo and Derek Smith have handled it, and how has Zach McCloud taken playing less? Has he had a good attitude about it, man?
Yeah, everybody's handled it really well. And again, it's not a matter necessarily of less or more, because it's all been about the game. There have been some games where it's been more Zach, more Romeo. It's been about the personnel, just our ability to match up, which is what we said in the summertime. The neat thing is that Zach has played very well. He's played at a very high level. He's made a big jump from where he was a year ago. Romeo Finley's become a very dependable guy on our defense and playing very consistently. So just having those guys, the neat thing about both those guys are both very high IQ guys. They both really study the game, love the game. Coach Packy's done a great job preparing those guys week in and week out. So, yeah, that position has become a really strong position on our defense.
Man, we didn't get to talk to you about the targeting penalty on Michael Jackson. Just when you guys looked over that play again, what did you see on it? And is there anything Michael could have done to prevent that?
We've asked, what you could do differently. because if a guy is laying out on his way to you, there's nothing to hit. I mean, I don't know what other part of the guy's body a defensive player can hit without hitting the guy in the head. And and there's no part of Michael Jackson's body that he can hit the guy with without hitting it. And they say he's a defensive player, and you're hitting a defensive player. So again, I'll reiterate that I don't think anybody would argue, and I don't think anybody would bat an eye if we said, hey, that's a 15-yard penalty, let's go play. But for a guy to be disqualified for a game, and you're seeing it around the country, you're seeing important players that are being disqualified. Does it favor? Does the same thing happen to players on offense or being disqualified? In big time games, that's a question. I think it's something that just the competition committees and the offseason, the referees are doing as good a job as they can do. They're really doing. They have a hard job. They have to officiate it by the letter of the law. Everyone benefits from the game being officiated in a safer way. So we're all for that. But if we can find some ways to help the defensive guys be able to play and understand the predicaments that they get put in, I think that would help our guys.
Manny, have you and Mark decided if there'll be any playing time consequences Friday for Odenigbo for the mindless thing he did late in the game?
We've handled that here on this field. We've handled that inside the building. There's a bunch of things that he's had to sort of complete in that way. And we've talked about it, and we've been able to learn from that, in terms of what happens when we let our emotions dictate our actions. So he's like anything though. He's like if Coach Talk is say we're gonna coach these guys like they're our sons. Okay, well it's fun to coach them when they're doing well, but when they make mistakes, our mistakes are very public. We put it on national TV for everyone to see. But we'd be the worst parents in the world if we just kicked the kid out of the house. It's a learning experience, and the neat thing is our guys rallied around him. Did that play lose us a game? There's 100 plays that lost us that Virginia game. Obviously, that was at a critical time, and he feels awful about it. But he's done discipline, and we've been able to turn it into a learning experience.
And thus, no playing time effects on Friday, right? Doesn't carry over.
No, he's paid his penance and is continuing to pay his penance in some ways that it's not for public consumption.
Can I just ask you? I've been asking about it's supposed to go down in the 30s during the game. Does that affect the defense at all? I know both teams have to play in it, but
it can either be a run or a pass. Right.
Got it.
And as long as they still only line up with 11 guys, we the more we think about that, the more that's going to create a problem for us, and they'll believe that that's a mental advantage. The guys that are running around playing, I don't think will have a problem. I think the important thing is that everybody there pays a lot of attention to the Red Sox game. And so watching their phone and really, if it gets a little cold, there's all kinds of sports taverns in the Boston area that everybody can go watch the Sox play on Friday night. Okay. Thank you all.